This is the Voice of Bold Business Radio, and I am your host, Jessica Dewell. You are listening to program 14, Why Accomplishments Matter. And I have two people that are perfect to tell you about this today. And you will find out so much about them, more than you already know, and you're going to know why they are perfect for this in just a few moments. I'm going to start with this. Maybe we don't want to seem egotistical. Maybe we don't want to be lonely. Maybe we don't want to be different. Maybe we want to try and keep our success a secret, which is why we don't tell anything to anybody about whatever is going on in our world. The thing is, our relationships change as we do, and we achieve success by working hard and finishing a project or getting back on our feet when we've hit rock bottom. The way we show up in relationships to others might be different after we've had experiences like that. And that will change the way other people turn around and interact with us. The thing is, it doesn't matter that we've had a hard time. It doesn't matter that somebody else has had a hard time. It's what we decide if we're going to do anything, if we're going to do anything at all, and the fact that it happened and we did it. It's done. It's over. So there. It might be hard at first because other people hold on to what they thought we were, not who we have become. It's a bit of a test to know if we're ready to see what's next, to be able to stand up to that little bit of resistance, to keep that line in the sand and give ourselves and others the space and grace to adjust to this new way of being. To get where we are as a leader, we've encountered thoughts and feelings that take us on this roller coaster of emotions. But have we gotten past them? Do we recognize our successes, no matter how small? And do we use them to build upon and achieve more success from? How do we remember what our accomplishments are? And when is the appropriate time to publicly declare those successes? When we come back, we're going to ask our panel, how do you keep track of and share your accomplishments?
Welcome to the Voice of Bold Business, the show that provides everything smart leaders need to evaluate situations, build relationships, and create solutions. Jessica Dewell candidly talks about the skills necessary to build tenacity and do more with less. And now, here's Jessica.
Joelle, Stephanie, welcome to the show today.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. I have to admit, the sun is shining. I took a walk this morning already. I even found a really nice red jacket that actually matches the leaves on the trees outside my window. How about you guys?
I'm great. Just like in South Louisiana, it's great. Just like everything. There's no autumn. There's no yellow, golden leaves. Everything is just turning from green to brown. So welcome from South Louisiana. Down the bayou.
It's funny that you say that, Joelle, because I'm in Arizona and we have the same issue. It's green and then it's gone.
Well, let's get to it. I want to know from each of you, what do you do, or what do you struggle with, or how do you keep track of, and do you share your accomplishments?
I'm a gentleman from the South, so I always let the ladies go first. Stephanie, would you like to answer that, or would you like me to take charge?
I'll jump in. Here we go. And it's easy to jump in because the answer is I don't. and it's so funny because Jess knows me so well. And when we were talking about this show, I was like, do you think I'd have anything to contribute? Because I just don't do that. And so I find it really interesting that I want to encourage, for example, my kids to do it. And we really want to celebrate the things that happen with our kids. I have a very, very hard time doing it for myself. And not just the things that go well, but the things that go wrong as well. And so I'm going to be interested to listen to what you guys say, because I know you guys have got some great opinions about it, but that's something I need to do better, really, because how can you say to your children, it's really important to do this, and, let's get excited about it. And then they look at you and they're like, well, but you never do it.
I get it. Okay. This might be, I was saying, I think what came out of this is we're going to explore a few things too. And I'm excited, Joelle. Go, jump.
Okay. what Stephanie suffers from, a lot of people as well as myself used to suffer from, is something called the imposter syndrome, where a lot of good things happen in your life and you figure, well, it was maybe luck, or, you know, anybody can do that. And they kind of downplay their successes. And that's not necessarily a good thing, because, you know, just like you said, Stephanie, you were talking about the children. People are always watching. They're always watching. I'm a big believer of not tooting my own horn, but I realize how important it is, because now, if you look back here.
Yeah. How many awards is that? That's like what, 10?
I don't know, but the most important one is this one right here.
Okay, so Joel is pulling out an award he's going to share with us. Yeah,
right. This is second place for the semifinals in the 2016 World Championship of Public Speaking. Now, when people do research, just like we all do, on something or a certain topic, if we're going to consider hiring someone, we want to know that, you know, they're worth their salt. Okay, this is credibility. Even though you may not want to do it in a business world, you have to, because this is credibility. Yes, you do have to toot your own horn, so to speak, because this kind of makes you an authority. So when someone comes to me, as you know, to help them consult, they know that the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. You know, they've seen the press release, they may have seen me on television or something like that, but they know that when it comes to hiring a coach, that yes, he's one of the best in the world. He's got the proof. Now, of course, I could have just taken that and put it up here with all the rest of them. But when people come in, they look for something to validate you as a person, regardless of whether you want to do it or not. In business, you have to, because this is your credibility. This is how you validate whatever it is that you're going to do.
Interesting, because that leads right into what I was going to say, which is every single person judges every single situation in their life. And it doesn't mean they're prejudiced. It doesn't mean that there's hate. But what it means is, if I go to a CPA firm and I'm looking for somebody for any part of my life, most recently my work and my home. We just moved to Boulder a year ago. So I was looking for somebody, and I did interviews. And I was looking for somebody who looked a little, you know, CPA-ish, with the glasses, the specific kind
of protector,
the pocket protector, the specific kind of dress. Did they wear a belt? Was their shirt tucked in? And it was really funny, because in preparing for this show, the fact that that was the memory that came back to me, I was like, I wonder, when people decide to reach out to me, what makes them actually do that? What kind of persona do I put out there that they can identify with, that tells them I'm who they need? And by the way, I'm still trying to figure that out. So if you guys know, please fill me in, because I'm also like Stephanie. It's very hard for me. So one of the things that I started practicing was I have five self-reflections. They could be, there's another word for it, and I'm losing the word. Affirmations that I say to myself every day. And sometimes when I need to just stop and breathe, I remind myself of my 5 affirmations. I was going to say aspirations, and I was like, no, I already am those things. So I've already arrived there, but I just need reminders. And I think that's really what it is. We recognize that we are somebody already, and we're going to talk more about imposter syndrome in just a little while. Yet I think some practices that, whether it's an affirmation or even just looking at yourself and don't say anything at all for 5 seconds, you can fall in love with yourself in 5 seconds if you held eye contact in a mirror every single day. That's all it takes. When you're walking down the street, for those of you who are single out there, and this I would say would be true for how it worked with me and Ryan once upon a time, was when I finally met the dude after talking to him on the phone for a while. We made eye contact, and I was like, well, I think this could be it. And so making that eye contact with yourself is a pretty good way to just be solid in yourself. It doesn't help actually sharing accomplishments for other people, but it does help us be solid in ourselves. And I really focus on the solid in myself, because like Stephanie said, she's got these wants and desires, as do I. And I was like, what can I do? I guess I got to at least be solid first. Be solid first. And then later on, we'll share tips and ways we might actually model that. Okay. So I'm going to make a little note. All right. What did that bring up for you guys?
Well, I'm still single. I'm still walking down the street and I haven't looked at anybody in the eye, and all of a sudden I'm married. It didn't happen. If I keep doing it like, oh, you pervert, what are you looking at?
Well, okay, maybe there's a different way to do that. I will totally stand corrected. But it's true. That's actually, so I needed my computer fixed. And my friend who decided was at the same college I was, I kept calling and he was never home. He was always playing games on the computer with some of his other friends and I could never get to him. And finally, his roommate said, well, could I fix your computer? I might be able to help you. I'm okay with that stuff. So I've been calling and talking to my friend's roommate for a while, and then he offers this thing, and I'm like, now what? You know, and I'm like, what do I wear when he comes over to fix my computer? I mean, so I was like, holy cow, this could be something before I even met him. And he was a nice guy, and I kept him, and I apparently was nice enough, he kept me.
Wow. That's awesome.
But we try to look at each other's eyes every single day. I mean, that's something that he and I just try and do, because in a world where everything is fast and you're trading off and you're running here and there and you might not see each other except for when you're brushing your teeth, you got to do something to help solidify those relationships, because it does start heart and home.
Yeah, it really does. You know, a side note, we were talking about, I think it was episode 6 when I came on, we had kind of talked about body language and nonverbal communication.
Mm-hmm.
There's a saying that the eyes are the windows of the soul. But here's the thing. There's a lot of things that you can consciously change about the way you look. But the one thing that always tells the truth about how you feel on the inside is your eyes. They never lie.
They never lie. Nope. That's right.
So even though I remember being a little kid, since we were just talking about your son, you know, I remember being around, I was a little boy too. And, you know, my mom just smiling, but she's looking at me like, as soon as we get home, you're dead. You're dead, my friend. You're dead. Your little brother are dead.
Yep.
So,
Stephanie, do you have that look?
I do. My kids know it very well.
Oh yeah, we know it. You don't have to say anything.
Right. You don't even, it's the whole like, and I'm smiling now and you know how I'm looking at you and I don't even have to say anything.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. So I like your idea, Jess, about sort of trying to get solid inside yourself. Do you feel like, because this is where I struggle. It's not that I feel like I'm an imposter so much. Like I know that I'm qualified to do the things I do and I feel comfortable doing them.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm in a position to actually, maybe it's social media that freaks me out, but when I'm in a position, for example, to share something awesome that happened, I don't have a problem always sharing it with family, you know, like, or with people that I'm connected closely to, with my close friends. But I guess one of the things I struggle with is, how do you share it in a public way?
Mm-hmm.
Because we've had this whole, I mean, you know, if you've been on social media for any period of time, you've had the whole like braggy, and then you've had the humble brag, and then there's like all these forms that it's supposed to take. And all of that feels a little fake to me. And that's part of what I have issues with, is because I'm like, look, if I'm going to share something, I want it to be authentic.
Right.
But what does that look like?
Okay, so I want to start, we're gonna go right there next. What I want to do though is talk about the whole body language thing, because, and actually I think this is going to be like 0.5 then, of my little notes that I'm going to reference later. Because, you know, Amy Cuddy did a fabulous TED Talk about the power pose and how different poses that you stand in actually make energy move through your body differently. So you can inadvertently, you can have the power that you want, and then practicing it so that it does not become, so it's not overbearing or imposing or dominating if that's not what you're going for. So I think that whole TED Talk was very interesting to me, and, you know, remembering that from what Joelle was saying. And I think it's really important because authenticity is something that everybody talks about and everybody says you've got to be. And I don't even know how to be authentic half the time. Maybe even more than half the time. Maybe it's more like 90% of the time, because you're right. When I'm at home and all the doors are closed and everybody just knows me, warts and all, it's a way different place than when, you know, people are expecting me to show up in a certain way or to achieve something for them. And they're wanting to know, how am I actually going to be able to help them? And how do you do that in an authentic way? And I love the question. Do you have any tips to start, Joelle? Or
Yes.
Okay, good. I was going to say, I thought you might.
As you can see, I was ready. Okay. The way to be authentic, it's become cliche, but it's so true. You have to just be yourself. You have to be yourself, not because you can only be the second best of somebody else. That's because when we meet people for the first time and we've never seen them before, and you and I have talked about this on the show that we did last year, The Predator.
Yeah.
Remember that movie?
Uh-huh.
The alien comes down and he can tell if you're hostile or not, right?
Yeah.
When we first meet people for the very first time, we're basically doing the same thing. We're looking at them to basically make a decision, because as human beings, we're curious. We have to make a decision. Either we like that person or we don't. So when you meet somebody for the first time, you say, hi, my name is Jessica. My name is Stephanie. 5 seconds later, you have no idea what their name is, right?
Right.
It's not the, and we all just play it off as, you know, I'm just bad with names. No, your brain is occupied doing something else. It's trying to make a decision as to whether I like that person or not. That's why you don't remember someone's name. Now, this is why when it comes to being authentic, being yourself is very, very important, okay? When your verbal communication and your nonverbal communication do not match, that causes confusion in the brain. And when that happens, that causes distrust. If a person just meets you and they, for some reason, you remember you meet somebody and you say, I don't like them. You know, it's just something in my gut that's not a lot. No, it's not in your gut. It's in their body language, because something is not jiving. They're trying to be someone else. They're trying to display a certain emotion that they don't innately have in them. And that causes confusion. And as I said, when there's confusion, there's distrust. And when there's distrust, you're not going to like that person. If there's something that registers in your brain to where you doesn't like that person, it shuts. And once that door shuts, your chance of making a great impression is gone. Now, the thing about that, you can make that decision in a tenth of a second. You can actually make that decision about somebody in the room that you're not even talking to, that hasn't even approached you yet. So it's very, very important to always be authentic, because if you're trying to be someone else and that person is not you, you know, it's just like a dog. A dog can sense if you're afraid of him or not, right? We can sense if a person is really being authentic or not, even if we just met them, or even if we haven't met them face to face. They can be somewhere else on the other something. It could just be anything that cause that, you know, anything can cause that mental door to shut. So being authentic is just being you at all times, because that way you don't have to fake anything. Everything comes out natural.
What we put forward and how we are, if we're worried about where we're going, I would say we probably haven't done enough research. So if we're walking into a situation or we're walking into a meeting with somebody, and if we're worried about them judging us wrong or getting us wrong and having a rift, okay, maybe we're not prepared enough would be my first thought. The second thought of that would be, when you take that, there's always going to be maybe a butterfly of, is there going to be a connection? Which is different than worried if they like me. So if I've got these butterflies and I'm like, okay, this really matters. It's really important to me to make this connection because I want to build this relationship. So I'm going to have done whatever I need to do to just get to that point. And then my focus can be in a situation on finding the place of connection to build the relationship of what I have to offer and what the other person has to offer, and then be able to go from there. And that works in any situation: home, work, networking, whatever.
It sure does. You know, and the one thing that I teach my clients when they ask me, you know, when it comes to making a great first impression, you know, if I were to ask you, you know, Jessica or Stephanie, what does it take to make a great first impression? You know, a lot of people say the same thing, you know, good handshake, eye contact, dress nice, and all that kind of stuff. And all that stuff is great. However, a lot of times, as I said before, you could have already made a decision before that person even gets to you. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to making what I call a great first impression, that starts before you leave your house.
Right.
So if you have one of these important meetings, this is what I would suggest. You have to leave that house in the right frame of mind, which means a positive mental attitude. This is why it's so important. So whatever it takes to put you in that positive mental attitude, whether it's reading a book, jogging, walking, having breakfast, whatever it is. So as soon as you walk out of your house, because remember, think about all the times the paparazzi catch these movie stars and don't have makeup. They're not prepared for that, right? So people judge you from the first, you walk out of your house, people looking at you and they're judging you. So you always want to be on your A game. And the best thing to do is walk out of your house having a positive mental attitude. So that aura, your glow, your natural personality is coming out. So you go into this meeting, hey, you're already there. You're already there. It's not like you're trying to get up for it or you have to act a certain way when you get there. No, start from your house. As soon as you wake up in the morning, have a ritual that you do that really puts you in a good mood, because that way you don't have to fake it.
Something else, Jess, that I've found that's really helpful for me in ahead of those sort of tense moments where, you know, it's a big important meeting, you know, you're going to have an opportunity, or it's somebody that you've really been trying to connect with and you finally got that meeting with them, is to actually reflect on your intention and to really be clear about what it is that you want to happen. Not in terms of, hey, I want the specific outcome, like, you know, I want to sell this person X number of dollars of stuff, but my intention is to be genuine and to try to create a connection, just like what Jess was saying. Because I do think that a lot of times we get ahead of ourselves, and I've had this experience, I'm sure everybody else has too, where you think to yourself, this is a great meeting, and if I do X, Y, Z, then this result is what's going to happen. Right? And you skip all the part where you're actually learning about the person and trying to connect with them, and you go straight to the result. And then you judge yourself based on whether or not you achieve that result. And the truth is a lot of times you do better if you focus on the intention. You know, I want to be my best self. I want to make sure they understand the value that I can offer them, but I also want to understand what the heck they need. Because you know what? The value I may bring to them is not my personal product or my service. It may be that I'm going to be a connector for them. And if I'm not listening to what they're telling me and I'm not connecting with them in a genuine and authentic way, I'm going to miss that. And then I'm going to walk away unhappy and they're going to walk away thinking I'm a jerk. And so that's what I try to do. It doesn't always work. You know, we're not perfect. That's the other thing. Everybody struggles with different parts of this. But I've found that in front of those important meetings, if I can really focus on my intention as opposed to the outcome, that helps. And it also, you know, the converse is true, or the inverse is true, if you will. When I've kind of forgotten about what my intention was, I've gone down that road of, okay, but I'm pushing for this outcome, and I'm not really listening, and the connection hasn't happened. So in my experience, that's been a real important part of it. Even to when you set the meeting, right? Like when you get the person on the phone and you're like, or you send them an email and you say, hey, you know what? I'd love to have coffee with you or whatever. When it goes in your calendar, write down like why did you want to meet this person, so that you see it right before you go and talk to them. Because it's easy to forget too.
So easy to forget. And that's a great tip. I know I use that one. I write something whenever I'm collecting a card, or if I had a great phone call, I've got notes about that phone call so I don't forget. And I love that. Which takes us, okay, so we were talking about ways that we struggle, intention versus focusing on the intention of the meeting versus the outcome of a meeting. And we can substitute whatever we want for meeting. And this goes back to imposter syndrome. And so if I were to sum up imposter syndrome, I would say that imposter syndrome is when we're focused on the outcome instead of the intention. What do you guys think about that?
The imposter syndrome has a lot to do with what we led off with when it comes to us receiving recognition. Well, we don't want to take the recognition. We rather play it off, downplay it, and think that we're not worthy of it. We're not worthy of spreading that good news. And, you know, the one thing that Stephanie said was, okay, I'm okay telling my family, but, you know, what about on social media? Well, the thing is that going to benefit you, spreading it on social media? You know, that's first and foremost. I spread a lot of achievements because I know that helps me as a person with my credibility. But normally I don't, and I'm the total opposite. I'm the total opposite. When things happen and it comes to like my family and things like that, I don't tell them. I just happened to send them a text message, when I was in DC, for the World Championship, and it was like, well, you never told us any of this kind of stuff where everybody else knew about it. So that's what the imposter syndrome is, because a lot of people figure, who wants to hear about me? What did I do so great? Oh, anybody else can do that kind of stuff. And that's just not so. That's not the case.
So Joelle, do you think that it's kind of an internal thing? And it is definitely an internal thing. And it's this notion, and so okay, we're gonna get super personal because it's not that I don't feel like I'm doing something that's worthwhile, and it's not like I'm embarrassed about what I'm doing or anything. It just feels weird sharing it in a public forum. Does that make sense? Yes.
Some people have a problem accepting criticism. We all know that. Some people have a real problem accepting praise from other people. They do. So what they do is they'll just downplay any type of recognition that may be coming to them. I know a lot of people like that. They don't want to be recognized, or if they receive an award or something, they just won't show, or they will take the trophy and just put it in the closet or something like that. Yes, some people have a hard, and it's an internal thing. Some people have a hard time, just accepting praise and accepting recognition.
It's very interesting for me to think about, because I don't feel that that's an issue for me, but maybe it is because of this whole, it shows up in this area where it's like, I don't want to tell people about what I did.
Interesting. And see, I am, and maybe this comes from perspective and just a little bit of self-reflection. I'm always looking to what's next. So for me, it's not that I don't even know if I like or don't like to share my accomplishments. I'm just never thinking about them because I've been there and I've done that and I'm on to the next thing, compared to worried about, unable to receive criticism or praise, which I think Joelle bringing that up was a very important part, because some people tie their personal experiences to whether or not they are allowed to be proud. And I think that criticism, some people get criticized for being proud of what they did. Some people get criticized because they are praising other people.
Do you feel like there's more of a deep-seated issue with people who are being criticized for actually being who they are, right?
Right.
So for example, like they're really proud of their accomplishments and they go out there and they say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Look what happened to me. And then there's someone who comes around and says, why are you always bragging? How come you got to talk about you so much? We don't care about you. You know what I mean? And so then they're like, oh, okay, never mind. I won't do it anymore.
And we unlearn to be proud when we're kids.
Right.
At some point.
This doesn't apply to everybody, but traditionally people that are, let me take a guess. Stephanie, you're an introvert?
That's a good question. I think so. Oh, like if on the Myers-Briggs? Yes. I'm an INTJ. I don't know what that's. Okay. INFJ. INFJ is me.
Okay. People that are introverts are normally the people that don't share a lot of their accomplishments out to the world, because that's just where it's not that anything is wrong with them, versus somebody who's an extrovert who shares everything. They share everything, right? Yeah. So I think it's more along the lines of that versus something that's a deep-rooted issue that you have to deal with, like you have to see a therapist or something like that. No, you don't have to see a therapist. Okay. So yeah, it's more or less just how certain people are. I'm what's called a functioning introvert. I would rather stay at home by myself, but I talk for a living. I don't have a problem talking in front of people. I don't. But at the end of the day, I have to kind of recharge my battery. Right. Are you like that?
Yeah, that's how I am. I don't mind. I like listening to people, getting the connection and understanding. but I don't want to say it's draining in the sense that it's a bad thing. It's draining. It's like I have to come home and then I need to like be by myself. Like I need to sit in the tub and read a book, or I need everyone just to leave me alone for a while because I don't have anything else. There's no energy left. Really.
Right. That's what you call a functioning introvert. Now, the extrovert, on the other hand, they're always outgoing. Even on the weekends, they're outgoing. They're just always. And I have to say, stop. Whoa, stop. Turn off the cell phone, lock the door, shut the lights off, and just sit in the closet or crawl under the bed or something.
Yeah. Well, because you need that space, right?
Right.
And so, okay, so that's interesting. And I'd love your take on this too, Jess. So some of it I think is introversion, extroversion. I think you're right on that one. It's just your personal tendency. But I think there's also an element of sort of, what am I trying to say? It was there and now it's gone. This sort of training that we've had. I think there's some family of origin stuff that happens too, which is, in our family, and I'm just speaking for myself now, like in our family, it was very important that we not brag and that we be very humble and that we always put the praise on other people and put the spotlight on other people. And so I think there's maybe there's that sort of perfect storm where, you're not only are you introverted, but you've received all these messages that it's not good to do these things. And so then you're just like, okay, well, you know what? I'm just never going to do it. That's just the way it is.
Right. And so what I see, and I remember very distinctly working toward a goal, overcoming an obstacle, and just really being proud of whatever I did. And it was dismissed as, well, everybody can do that now. Who knows? It could have been tying your shoes. It could have been writing your name. It could have been any of those things. But that was the beginning of it's like people forgot that there are these life milestones, these rites of passage. And when we don't celebrate our peers and our family and of any age, when we encounter somebody who is proud of something that they have done and they have gotten to this next level of living, we really are pushing them down. I was looking up the definition of proud as an adjective, and it says feeling deep pleasure or satisfaction as a result of one's own achievements, qualities, or those of someone who we are closely associated. So my feelings of proud could very easily be for one of you guys in your achievements as much as my own. And so when we take this, when we are looking to push it out to the world, we have this thing of we're not supposed to be proud anymore. We're not brag, right? It gets synonymously intertwined with brag. Yet we need to do that because we need to, if we don't, we're not even celebrating ourselves.
And that, I think that's where my question it comes back to the beginning is how much of it is, I don't want to say an excuse, but how much of it is, well, but if I make it public, if I go out there and tell people, they're going to think that I'm bragging. And so it's easier for me just to stay small and not say anything about it because I might open myself up to criticism because I might be perceived as somebody who is arrogant or bragging or whatever. And actually the person who's getting the biggest detriment from that is me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it can also downplaying a lot of achievements can also hinder the performance. We're in football season. Now, I grew up in the 80s, okay? Yeah, I like that. Back in the 80s when people scored touchdowns and they would do the boogie and stuff like that. Remember that?
That was awesome.
Right. Yes. You can't do that anymore. That's considered unsportsmanlike. So their celebration of their achievements is no longer. So if you go back and you look at the energy level and the excitement, whether it be on the sidelines and as well as the players on the field from the 70s and 80s and compared to today, you don't have that. It's more of a business now. They're taking the emotion out of it because you can't celebrate these milestones. And I remember John Madden, one of the best football coaches. He's a character too, by the way. But he would talk about like after the game, they would all get together and they would go celebrate. Now you don't do that. So when you look at the overall, excitement of the game, the energy level of the game, now granted, the athletes are bigger, stronger, faster, but the excitement, the fun is no longer there.
Oh, go ahead, Jess.
No, you go first, Stephanie.
I was just gonna say what I find interesting is, and again, I watch too many movies with my kids, but this is something that came from The Incredibles, and that's kind of the whole lesson of The Incredibles, right? Is that there's these superheroes and then they have to go undercover and they can't show their talents. And at one point there's the boy who's really fast and he's got all these great athletic talents. And he says to his mom, "But why is it wrong for me to be special?" And she says, "Dash, everyone is special." And he looks at her and he says, "Well, that means no one is." And that's where
mediocrity.
Right. And that's my question. Is that what we're doing? We're trying so hard to squish everybody into the middle that there's no outliers on top and there's no outliers on the bottom.
Right. Now go back to, since we're talking about kids, Little League, baseball, football, basketball, everybody gets a trophy. Right? Yeah. There's no winners, there's no losers. It's how you play the game. Which means that, as you said, we're chopping off the people that are going to be crying because they lost, and we're chopping off the people that are going to be jumping excited because they won, and making everybody the same.
Which is hard, because we're not celebrating each person's unique strengths.
If you have this kind of mass in the middle, then actually it's very hard for anyone to understand what they really like, right? Because they're like, well, I'm okay at that. Well, I'm okay at that too. Well, I'm okay at that. And then they're not sort of pushed to find something that they're really psyched about, because they're just kind of participating in all these things and they're getting a little bit of their needs met. Like, they're getting some social interaction and they're getting some praise and they're getting all those things from all these little slices of activities, as opposed to like, wow, I played softball and I really sucked at softball. I don't want to do that anymore. Let me find something I really like.
Exactly. And that's actually part of the exploration too. And we find that even today. So if we were to take it back to why our accomplishments matter, it's because it is what makes us different. It's because we know who we are. And it's because we understand that the strengths that we bring have a specific way to add value to a situation, a project, a workplace, a company, a community center, you name it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because if you're working on a project or something, there's got to be that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. There has to be. It can't just be, okay, well, this done. Nope, you can't celebrate. You have to get ready for the next one. Well, what is the incentive to really give your peak performance? There isn't any. That's why so many people can go into a job. They're not recognized for the things that they do, and it becomes daunting. They don't want to do it. They don't. But we were talking in a personal, about let's switch to business, for example. One of the things that I did talk about on episode 6, we were talking about motivating people, and we were talking about exactly this: learning how to motivate people to give your peak performance. And you have to know how people are motivated. Well, if they're not allowed to be rewarded, then you will never know. You will never get peak performance. In business, you always want to get peak performance from your employees. So you have to know what really motivates them. And as I said, there are 5 of them. People are motivated by money. Some are motivated by public recognition, praise, more job responsibility, and promotion. You have to know that, which means that if people are working on your team and you want peak performance, you have to reward them. You don't reward everybody the same. If you reward everybody the same, you're going to have some people that are not going to give you peak performance. They're just not.
What I hear you saying is everything that you said, and then to take it a little deeper, could be that as a leader, it is our responsibility to let people know we see them. We understand their contribution, and we get the value that they're bringing. Yes,
because people want to feel appreciated. Mm-hmm. They want to feel like they belong somewhere.
Right.
Right. It's the validation that what I do really matters.
Mm-hmm.
Go
ahead, Steph.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you think that's also part of the reason that companies like Zappos, for example, that gives a lot more responsibility to people who are in lower level, although more important, honestly, in my opinion, customer service is like one of the most important jobs in any company, but those people are seen as lower level employees.
That's exactly why they do it. That's exactly why they give them more responsibility. That's exactly why a lot of companies have these banquets where they give awards. That's the same reason why they have Christmas parties and give out Christmas bonuses. That's why, because that it motivates them. If they know, if they recognize their, Richard Branson says this. He says the most important thing is business is not your customers. The most important thing in business is your employees, because if you take care of your employees, they will take care of the customers. So it's very important to know how your employees, what really makes them tick. Mm-hmm. You have to know that, and you reward them for it, because if you reward them as soon as they do something that needs to be rewarded, it makes it that much easier to correct a bad habit. But you have to do it right then and there, because they know they're going to get rewarded if they do it right. If they do it wrong, tell them they did it wrong, because they're not going to see it as a bad thing, because we're just like kids. We like stars and lollipops.
Right. Yes,
right?
we do. Yes,
we still like stars and lollipops.
And we want to be seen as much as we do things the way that they need to be according to our rules of life when nobody's looking. I mean, just this morning, I was taking a walk and there's a piece of trash on the ground, and I had spied the piece of trash, and I was like, I'm going to pick that up as I get closer. And there was a gentleman who stopped at the bus stop where this trash was, and he actually stopped and picked up the trash and put it in the trash can. So there were two of us just thinking about making our space a little bit better by the actions that we took, regardless of the fact that nobody may have been looking. And so when I think about our accomplishments and coming back to why our accomplishments matter, I think when we're able to not only do it authentically, to let go of whatever variation or degree of imposter syndrome we have, we also have this ability to just do the things that we do because we know in our heart that that's what matters. And so that's a modeling thing. It's modeling not only ourselves, doing it when nobody's looking, but knowing that somebody might always be looking, and we might impact somebody's day by the actions that we take. So the last section, I want to spend just a few minutes, and maybe we'll go back to whether we're doing it at home or we're doing it at work or we're just doing it by ourselves. What are the tips that you guys could share about how do you model being proud? And I think we're going to stick with the proud, because being proud of our accomplishments. How about that? How do you model being proud of our accomplishments?
Okay, I know for me personally, it's all about the work, because there's a lot of times you may set a goal and realize that, wow, gosh, there's going to be times where you're going to be frustrated. There's going to be times where you feel like you can't do it, you can't make it, but you push yourself to do it. You push yourself to do it. And when you get to the end and you get the result that you want, you're proud of that. And I know from my personal experience, the things that I went through over the last couple of years, you know, I'm really proud that I didn't give up. I'm really proud that I did the work. Whether I received an award or not, I'm really proud of the work that I did do, because I know that even if, and as I said, even if I would not have made it, I'm proud of myself for sticking myself out there and actually doing the work. And that alone makes me proud.
I love that. I think that's great. I am not as strong as you yet, but I'm getting there. You're inspiring me. I think, so I like the idea of goal achievement, but for me, I'm really, like we talked about a little bit earlier, trying to take my wins when I'm focusing on the intention, because I have a tendency, I'm a planner, right? And so I have a tendency to be like, okay, so I want to get down here. So I'm going to do A, then B, then C, then D, then E. And I make this big, long plan. And as soon as any little thing goes off the plan, it's easy for me to go off the rails, right? And so the way I'm kind of measuring success right now is by trying to really get clear on my intention. And as long as I can bring myself back and act with intention, then that's going to be a win for me. Knowing that the outcome may not be exactly what I wanted, you know, be it a sale or a good connection or an opportunity to speak or any of those things, but just trusting that by sticking with my intention, the things that are supposed to happen for me are going to happen. And so that's, and it's so funny I say that as somebody who works in banking and works with numbers all the time, but that's really what I'm trying to do and change my focus from, did you achieve the exact result you were looking for or not? And really turn it towards, you know, are there things I'm doing in my daily life? Are there practices I'm creating that make me proud and that are true to who I am?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's both of those. I couldn't have asked for anything better than that. One of the things that I do for other people, whether it's my team, my child, my husband, the neighbor, anybody, you know, my colleagues, somebody I haven't seen in a long time, when I'm doing research and an initial conversation, this little thing that I do, I will say, I noticed you, and then whatever that is. I noticed that. And it could even be, I noticed that you wore hot pink stilettos today. I noticed that. Or like, I know yesterday that the Seahawks for the month of October, that, you know, everybody's got their breast cancer awareness stuff. And the cheerleaders have those thigh-high hot pink boots. And, you know, it could be, I noticed you were wearing your breast cancer awareness thigh-high patent leather hot pink boots, right? I noticed that. But the point is, they're doing whatever they're doing, it matters to them. So to be able to notice that. And then I try and do that to myself too. I try and stop and go, I noticed that. And list one or two things about myself in the moment, about myself in that day, so that I can just recognize and check in. I feel accomplished. Or I don't feel accomplished, but I have a journaling program because, remember, I'm always in the future. I can look back and go, I actually did do a lot of work. Right on. And so there are just a couple of things like that, just little practices that don't take a lot of time that help when the time comes to have to be able to say, when somebody goes, well, what did you do? Or why are you credible? Or what gives you, you know, if somebody says something and you go, ooh, I have to show my authority here. I have to show my expertise here. I need to show my ability here. Or, and out it can come.
Yeah. I love your idea, Jess, of making a note. And that's something I would like to do better at, because I do think we have a tendency, we're all looking forward, we're looking to the next thing because we care about what we're doing, we care about our clients and all that. We forget, we honestly forget, like, here's all the things that I did. Here are all the people I helped. Here are all the people that I worked with. Here's what I learned. Here's what they learned. I think that, it's funny now that I'm saying it, that's the kind of thing that could be useful, for example, to share on social media. Not the big long list, but if you've got that big long list, those are the kinds of things that might be that might make me more comfortable sharing on social media. Yeah. Some of your accomplishments, instead of it feeling like this kind of bragging thing, it's just, you know what, I've got this big long list, and today, once a week, I'm going to pick something I did and I'm going to share it.
Yeah, easy. And it shows that you're productive. It shows that you're doing things. It shows that you care. You want to make sure other people know what's going on. And think about all of the awards that we might get nominated for over time. We're going to go back to Joel's, all of the awards. Those he earned in competitions, but there are also going to be some that he earned because people thought about him in some way. And they're going to come and say, so what else can I say about you to fill this out, to really show that you're this, that you're this, that you're that you are the embodiment of this award that we'd like to give you. And if you're looking at them like a deer in the headlights,
I don't know.
That's not very good.
Let me ask you something. Stephanie, the one thing that you said was that, you don't have a problem, sharing the news with your family or anything. And this is for both of you. When you get that, that client that you wanted or something, don't you feel good on the inside doing it? Don't you celebrate, even if it's just you?
Yeah, but that's what's funny, right? Because it's like I do the little victory dance in my office or wherever it is I am. Thank you. Sorry. And that's why it feels weird, right? Because if it was, I guess that's why it feels strange, because I know I'm not bragging. To me, bragging is saying something that's not necessarily true or inflating something so people think differently of you. So I know I'm not bragging, but I'm just concerned other people will see it that way. right? So I know it's all kind of up here, but I don't really understand why, I guess.
We talked about a lot of things today. We talked about imposter syndrome, authenticity, how we can take our emotions out and still be competitive, what that does for our credibility, and the fact that body language can carry a lot of weight in every aspect of the things we've talked about, as well as a couple of great resources that we'll link to, whether they're the quotes or the movies or the TED Talks. We'll get all of those linked to in the program notes. And you guys listening and watching, this is the Voice of Bold Business Radio. You are watching Program 14, Why Accomplishments Matter. So go visit voiceofboldbusiness.com/p14 for all of our show notes, and make sure you tell us what you think. How do you showcase your accomplishments, and how do your accomplishments matter in your life as a leader, so that we can continue this conversation? And until next time, you know your accomplishments matter, and the rest of us want to know them too.
Subscribe at thevoiceofboldbusiness.com and get more information, program notes, and past episodes. Bold leaders approach each situation and focus on action to achieve a higher level of leadership. Jessica Dewell, your business advocate, is the host of the Voice of Bold Business Radio. Thank you for joining us.